pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Whitehall Township has an obligation to affirmatively further fair housing and to review all land use applications in accordance with federal civil rights statutes. This includes taking meaningful actions that overcome patterns of segregation and foster inclusive communities free from barriers that restrict access to opportunity based on protected characteristics. The township, in its land use decisions, does not discriminate against persons based on race, color, national origin, religion, sex, disability, or familial status, and reviews all land use applications in accordance with federal civil rights statutes. Public comments made on the basis of bias and stereotype concerning people within these protected classes will not be taken into consideration by the township in its deliberations. For approval of the minutes of the regular public meeting, April 8th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions from the board? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
And President Hauer.
Yes.
Approval passes 6 ayes, 0 nays.
Voting on position of commissioner, a motion approving the appointment of Ann Fryman to the Whitehall Township Board of Commissioners, term ending December 31st, 2019. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
President Hauer?
Yes.
Position voting ends up with 6 ayes, 0 nays. She is approved.
You get to come up and get sworn in.
Before you get sworn.
Yeah.
Don't waste any time. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Let's go.
And the best part is you get to sit next to us.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. This is the fun. First of all, this is the fun side, and when you vote yay or nay, you have to actually vote yes or no.
Okay.
What? Perfect.
It's my planning seat.
All right, cool. All right, public hearing and voting on liquor license transfer, resolution number 3061, a resolution approving the transfer of Pennsylvania Eating Place liquor license number E-2616 to ZTT LLC, TAJ&C Crab Juicy Seafood, Whitehall, Pennsylvania, for use at 2180 MacArthur Road, Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I understand they're here to present.
Good evening. Before I get started, I have a handout. You mind if I just approach and hand that out to the members of council? Thank you.
This is where CC's Pizza is.
Okay, so it's just, so this is just, all right. Gotcha. Okay. More formality.
Just roll staff. Thank you. That's the Verizon stuff.
Okay.
Before you begin, you will have to swear you in.
Guys have
Yes.
told me we can't have what's going on.
I do. David, D-A-V-I-D, Berger, B-E-R-G-E-R. You're welcome. Good evening. My name is David Berger. I'm an attorney at Norris McLaughlin. I am here on behalf of Matthew Anderson, who could not be here tonight. We represent the applicant ZTT LLC, trading as JC Crab Juicy Seafood. This application is only to request the approval of transferring the Pennsylvania liquor license held by Susan Shady Hook in Slatington here into Whitehall Township. That being said, even if this intermunicipal transfer is approved, it's also still contingent upon the Pennsylvania Liquor Control Board approving the transfer of the license to ZTT. Our clients also remain subject to pulling any building permits for any construction, as well as any Whitehall Township zoning ordinance. My clients are unable to be here this evening, but if after my presentation tonight, if you have any outstanding questions that require them to be here, we can bring them to any subsequent meeting. This transfer application was also filed here to bring another license in because there are no available licenses in safekeeping in Whitehall. In fact, the last safekeeping license was brought out of safekeeping about 2 weeks ago. The type of operation for our client is going to be a family restaurant. It's kind of like a family seafood and crab shack. They have multiple operations. It's a chain in Florida and Massachusetts. It's a quickly expanding chain as well. They plan on having many operations in Florida. If the transfer is approved, they hope to be open in August, have about 8 to 10 employees. The restaurant can accommodate up to 120 patrons, mostly seating. If you look at Exhibit A2, you'll see a layout of the plans. The majority of the seats are in dining area. There is a server bar. That is a small amount of the available seating of the restaurant. They will be installing about 8 to 12 cameras on the premises for security purposes. Also, because the license is an eating place restaurant, no hard liquor can be sold. However, for fair disclosure, if the business does go well, they may consider converting the license to an R license, which would give them the ability to sell alcohol as well. The current beverage offerings would be premium beer with some craft beer as well. You're not going to see many imports, those kinds of things. There isn't going to be takeout beer permitted. They're mostly just using this as the offering to their clienteles who are coming in and eating at the restaurant. With regards to their ID policy, they are subject to PLCB regulations. They will be IDing any person they believe to be under 30 years of age. There is also no plans for live music on the premises. And that is what I have. If I can take any questions, if any members have any questions.
Any questions from the board?
So it's just beer then, or is there?
Correct. It's
beer
an eating place license only allows you to sell malt and brewed beverages. So that does not include hard alcohol.
The cameras you're referring to, are they only interior or any on the exterior?
I believe they're just going to be interior. If there's going to be an exterior one, it would be right outside the front door.
Who's coming, who's going?
Correct.
May I make an observation?
Sure.
You said you were going to be checking IDs on anybody believed to be 30 or below. Is that
Yes.
what I heard you say?
Correct.
My suggestion is you just do it with everybody because us older folks kind of get a kick out of having you think we could be younger than 21.
I believe that's
so-
age discrimination. It's the old guys like me, not you, Phil.
No, not me.
Any comments, any other comments from the board? Comments from the floor? Hearing none. Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Hold on here a second. Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Fryman,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
and President Howard.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Thank you very much.
We're moving sheets now.
We have courtesy of the floor.
Joshua, you're gonna, I don't know Joshua, your last name begins with a THA, but after that, I'm not sure.
It's Thatcher. I thought it was a sign-in sheet.
Oh, okay.
You're required to talk now.
I really don't have anything productive.
Okay. Mario Spagnoletti, is that how you say that, sir?
Mario Spagnoletti, 351 Sumner Avenue. I'd like to congratulate my old friend, Ann Matsko. I didn't even know, I didn't really realize that your dad was, and me, and we were all friends together. Well, anyways, I'm going to comment on the Environmental Council and the Lehigh County Conservation District. They had their annual Envirothon on April 23rd for the high school and April 25th for the middle school. With all the teachers and the students, there were at least 200 people there, 200 students, which is a good thing. And they were all out at the Wildlands Conservancy. I want to, the different topics were forest and soil, wildlife, aquatics, and farming. Now each group, each school got a class, let's say on forest, and for an hour, and then they got a test on what they learned. The next class would follow them, and they just keep going around until all classes were completed, and at the end they got an award. So I want to thank Justin Bondel for bringing out the high school, and Miss Deborah Luff bringing out the middle school. It seemed that Parkland usually wins everything, so they won also most of the prizes for the high school. But Whitehall came in third in the middle school. The high school, was mostly all Parkway. So anyway, I would like to, I'm happy to see kids like that come out and enjoy the outdoors. Most classes were all held outdoors. Some were held indoors. And it was a great 2 days. It was sunny and nice, and we had the beautiful weather, so we all enjoy it. So another thing maybe Mayor Harrickle will want to comment on is this Saturday is the big recycling electronics, and he'll going to talk about that later on. And of course, the 21st.
Anytime, Mario, just go ahead.
Well, they have we have our annual recycling event on Saturday. It's going to be warm, it's going to be nice, they say. Now you can bring, I don't know, there's a big list of computers, laptop computers, printers, all kinds of things, televisions and what have you. Some they'll have to charge you for. And there's also shredding. If you have a lot of old documents you want shredded, you can have them all shredded for nothing, for free. And then we have, Joe, what's that other, the
Vintage, yeah.
etching on your cars. It's done for free, and it'll prevent stealing of the doors or whatever when they see that number. It's done for nothing. The Lehigh County Task Force does it, and it should be a great day. And another comment on the 21st, don't forget to vote. Okay, thank you.
Mario, thank you for staying on point with that event at the Wildlands Conservancy. I know
Yeah.
last year you were hoping that more kids would have
Well,
turned out.
I hope you, Jeffrey and Clary had something to do with bringing the kids out. The last year, I was very disappointed that the middle school didn't even show up. This year, they won a prize. They come in third place, so
thank
we're
you
on the
for
right track.
Persistence on that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mario.
Dennis, can I tag into what he was saying about that event on Saturday? We owe District Attorney Martin a debt of gratitude because we had this equipment reserved for 8 months, and 2 weeks before the event was scheduled, we got notice that the equipment wasn't going to be available to do the VIN etching. And Mike Marks got a hold of Jim and some other people down there, and they managed to get something from out in Lancaster to bring it in to make sure that we could accommodate things that we advertised months ago. And so that worked out well for us, and I want to thank Jim for that.
Okay, Jonathan, and it begins with a B, and you live at 5455 Summit Street, so.
I just fell into the whole sign-in sheet trap.
Okay. All right, thank you. And that's all. Come up. State your name and address, please.
Neil Ehrlichman, 4307 North Church Street, Whitehall, PA. On April 8th, noise ordinance was passed in the township, and on April 9th, Kevin Duffy of the Morning Call printed an article basically saying it was because of the Fullerton Memorial Fair. I've talked to, and they actually quoted a commissioner who I've talked to, and I've talked to several of you about it, brought it back to the volunteers, and they asked me to come before the board and get the board to acknowledge that that wasn't the reason for the noise ordinance. And that's basically it.
Well, I'm on the Legal and Legislative Committee, and I chair that committee, and I will unequivocally say it was not just because of one event. There was one event at the
car show.
at the car show
Yes,
that
sir.
was a catalyst to restarting conversations.
Absolutely.
But we have plenty of noise issues in the township, and that it was not because of the Fullerton playground.
I thank you very much.
You're welcome. We're going to jump ahead in the agenda tonight. I'm going to use my executive privilege. You like that?
Wow. Wow.
Everybody spread out. I'm going to use my executive privilege. Slide on down.
You even want us to stay?
You know what? I can run the whole show myself if you'd like. See, you miss a meeting, look what happens. I'm going to jump ahead to resolution number 3067 because I understand we have a lot of people in the audience tonight that are concerned with that. So if everyone is cool with that, we're going to move it along, okay? See, I'm going to ask your permission now, is that all right?
Carry on.
All right, thank you. Resolution number 3067, a resolution confirming the denial of the transfer of Pennsylvania restaurant liquor license number R-1451 to Sheetz Incorporated, Claysburg, Pennsylvania, for use at 5001 MacArthur Road, Whitehall Township, Lehigh County, Pennsylvania. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments from the board?
So this resolution is just reaffirming the vote that we took at last month's meeting, nothing else.
Which was a denial of the application for the license.
That is correct. The last meeting, it was just a denial, so this is to put a resolution on the record that says that you're denying it.
Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
Yes.
Yes.
Joe
Mr.
second.
Marks.
Any other comment or question from the board? Comments or questions from the floor? Yes, sir. You'll have to come up, state your name, and give us your address.
My name is Ed Patterson. My address is 5542 Briar Lane, Whitehall, Pennsylvania. First off, I'd like to thank you very much for letting us step up in front here.
No worries.
There is quite a few people in our neighborhood that are directly affected by this. We all know that there's been current issues at that site without the alcohol component being added to it. So I just want to reiterate that. And a quick question would be, and maybe this is not for you, I don't know. They're setting up an area to serve the alcohol in so they can claim that they're running as a restaurant. Is that correct?
Yes, they will be making an adjustment, or at least their plan was to make an adjustment to the existing building.
Okay, so there's construction going on currently for that.
I do not know if it's currently going on.
There's construction currently going on. I don't know whether it's for that or not.
Okay.
But my question would be, does the open container law apply to the parking lot as well? If they take their open container from that eating designated area out to a car in the parking lot?
I would assume so.
It's private property, so that's always questionable.
Okay.
But
I mean,
it's
there's no-
private property,
Yes.
so it's always questionable. It's like drinking in your yard.
Right.
But at the same time, if the board passes this resolution, it confirms the denial of the license, so there would be no alcohol sold on the property.
Right, I'm just looking ahead to, I also have the ability to appeal to the Liquor Control Board, correct?
Well, they have currently appealed this to the county court.
Okay,
So before they can go to the Liquor Control Board, they would have to get the court to overturn this board's decision.
okay, but that is also coming as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I just wanted to know what the law was as far as they're concerned. And you're saying as long as it's private property, there's really not much they can do about open container.
It is it's not a real clear standard, I guess you could say. Some say yes, some say no. So,
Well, it'll be under their own policing,
correct.
right?
Because our police cannot enforce it on private property unless they
Right.
call the police.
And they've had issues in the past with their policing of people on their private property?
I don't know.
Has there been calls to the Whitehall Police Department?
There have been calls.
Yes.
Okay,
Most of them not egregious, but there have been, I think, 54
51.
calls, something like that.
51 in the
51
last
calls in the last year.
Okay.
So it's
Was
less
that-
than one a week.
okay, was that theft or was it
There-
disorderly?
There were a number of different
Okay.
concerns.
Okay, thank you. And thanks again for letting us speak.
No worries. Any other comments from the floor? Hearing none, Mr., oh, sorry. Absolutely.
My name is Jeremiah Huffman. I'm with Sheets Incorporated. I'm a district manager. I live at 300 Mountain Avenue in Robozonia, PA, in Berks County. I can address the residents' concerns. We do not allow drinking in the parking lot, and if we did witness it or were told about it, we would contact the police immediately, and I imagine they would be arrested. If a customer that wasn't a VIP, wasn't intoxicated, walked outside, cracked a beverage, it would be, we'd ask for that beverage and we would dump it out and ask them to leave the property immediately. If they were intoxicated, if there were any other issues there, or they were argumentative, combative, then we would contact the police. The other concern is the calls. There were 54 calls, at least that's what I got from the police department. In 2018, that is. 4 were for noise, 1 disturbance, and 3 unwanted persons. Now, you can't say for sure if the unwanted persons were loitering or causing a disturbance, if it was anything related to noise, but out of those 54 calls, that's what I have for the breakdown. And in 2019, there was 1 noise and 1 loitering out of all our calls. As far as security goes, we have 25 security cameras. At least 6 of them are outside. And various other security measures such as silent alarms around your necklace, and 5 other silent alarms within the store. We are under construction for a remodel. We are adding seating. We're adding 30 seats, and yes, that does fall in line with the regulations required for drinking and selling alcohol. We would prefer not to allow drinking on premise at certain sites, but according to PLCB regulations, we must allow it. Our house policy is only to allow 2 on premise. We don't encourage it, we don't advertise it, we don't even put up signage. And at the moment that there's a problem, somebody would be asked to leave. We're compliant with all the other PLCB laws and regulations that go with that, such as a minor that would come up and sit at the table. You can't allow any such thing. But I wanted to come out and address some of the concerns.
Comment. I know you have the construction underway. Among other things, I had asked your manager if during that renovation you would change the types of trash containers that you have, because the ones you have now are open to the wind. There isn't a lid on it of any type or anything that can keep that trash from blowing around, and it does. There's just not much you can do when you get a strong wind. So do you know if you're going to be, as part of that renovation, altering the kind of trash controls that you have now?
Our current trash can is better than the ones that we have. That old design is, well, there's better things that have come along. Our current ones can be seen at the Easton sheets or even the Bethlehem sheets. They're black. They do have a lid on, but it is an open lid, but the actual opening is much smaller to help prevent that. I've also policed a lot. I've talked with my management team to address residents' complaints about litter. We've cleaned up the vacant lot across the street. There was minimal sheets litter in there. There was a lot of litter from people driving, tossing things. We cleaned a majority of that up, even though some of it was not ours, just to be a good neighbor.
I had asked that the manager have your employees do that, and I'm glad to hear that he did.
Yeah. I mean, there's still a lot of litter along that road going the whole way up to the park, but we did what we could.
And again, I would suggest that in a 20 or 30 mile an hour wind, do you think that these open containers are actually going to control the distribution of that litter along that road again?
Yeah. I believe they
I
do a
haven't
pretty
seen
good
them.
job. We have a facility person that works part-time, 20 hours a week, that details and cleans her outside. They focus on the entire facility as far as cleanliness goes. And on top of that, management's required to police the parking lot a minimum of 3 times to assess it as to what needs done. Example, the trash being changed. And when every time they're out there, they change it, whether it's quarter of the way full or, to the top.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just state your name and address, please.
Frank Roller, 5548 Briar Lane, Whitehall, Pennsylvania. Correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't we told at the last meeting by Sheets' attorney that they, even if there was, they were still not going to allow anybody to drink on the premise? Now he's saying they're going to allow 2. Am I correct?
That's the way I remember it, yes. I think the confusion here is that the policy of the company, and I'm not going to speak for the company, is that they don't want people drinking on the property, but the PLCB law requires them to be able to consume the alcohol on the property. It's the way I understand it. I could be
Okay.
wrong.
Okay. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Barbara Crimp, 5527 Bayberry Lane. I just wanted to address the issue of how many police calls were made. When I moved to Briarwood, we've been living there for over a year now. When we first started to hear all the racket from the Sheets, we were told by the neighbors, don't bother to call the police because when you call, they tell you you can't do anything. They can't do anything about it, that Sheets themselves has to call. So I think it's not that nobody wanted to call and complain about this, but we already knew that it was to no avail. And I understand what he's saying about policing their area, but if all of that racket and confusion was going on all this time, every single weekend, and nobody was making calls to get it straightened out, what makes us think that after they start serving beer that it's going to be any better? That's my comment.
Well, the good news is now we have a spiffy new noise ordinance and we can actually enforce. So if you, the homeowner or the resident, calls the police, they're going to report to your address, witness the noise coming from their site, and then they can be cited according to our noise ordinance. So that's the good news here. We actually have an enforcement tool now that we can enforce.
Okay.
So we don't need Sheets to call us anymore, dear. You can call 911, report it, a Whitehall police officer will show up, and at that point, him or her will make a call whether or not they feel they're in violation.
I hear you. Thank you.
I would like to ask the chief to address the concern about the residents having been told that they can't do anything about that. I wouldn't want it to be left out there that they can't do anything. So let's understand the circumstance and how we adjust to it.
As far as the actual conversation goes, I don't know what it was or what it entails. If it involves any of the loitering that occurred up at Sheets, I can tell you the police department can't be the aggrieved party. We cannot be the ones that would be going on to somebody else's property and telling them who can stay and who can't stay. So that's probably where some of that would have come from. That would be my only guess.
But if you saw anything of a criminal nature as you come to Sheets's or approach Sheets's, would you be able to intervene at that point regardless of whether the property owner had asked you?
It depends on what kind of criminal action it would be, but
So
most
draw a
likely, yes.
distinction. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Chief, the best action for our citizens, if they hear, if it is loud and obnoxious, is to call 911.
Non-emergency number.
Non-emergency number, okay, fair enough. Well, that's the other problem. A lot of citizens don't know the non-emergency number and, you know.
Everybody's newsletter.
Okay. We do have a non-emergency number, and that doesn't necessitate calling 911 and tying up county communications. That way we can dispatch a car locally, and they can come up and address your concerns. If you look at our monthly news or our quarterly newsletter, or you look on the township website, that number is provided. That just takes less of a burden off of the 911 system for more important calls. So if anyone needs to contact the police for a non-emergency situation, call our non-emergency number.
Any other comments from the floor? Yes.
My name is Angela Patterson. I live at 5542 Briar Lane. I was here at the last meeting and we had discussed the fact that the Sheets employees were going to take care of letting the people know when they were noisy or getting out of hand. My concern is that the beer or wine is going to be able to be sold between, I believe, 7 in the morning until 2:45 in the morning, or somewhere around that time frame. My concern is that you have employees that are being there at night, and I don't know how safe they'll feel approaching somebody that's drunk, disorderly, or having a problem, or, or contacting the police and afraid of retribution. I think the gentleman here that represents Sheets said that they're going to monitor that. How exactly are they going to monitor that? Because it was a little bit gray last time. They said they have cameras that are monitoring the facility at all times, or it would be the employees that would be monitoring this situation. So maybe he can answer that. That's just my question
All right.
and concern.
Thanks.
Hello, my name is Matthew Fenstemaker. I reside at 4188 Independence Lane, Walnut Port, Pennsylvania. I'm the current store manager at the Sheets in Whitehall. I took over there late June of last year. I can tell you we met with Police Officer Beeler a few weeks ago to address any kind of concerns that the police department had and what we could do to work with them. One of the questions about security cameras was we actually have our corporate office out in Altoona has a security operations team that can log into those cameras anytime and see what's going on out in our parking lot. As far as a safety standpoint from our management team, they are trained that if they walk around that parking lot or if they look outside and it looks like it's something they would not be able to handle, they can call our security operations team, have a voice down sent down telling them to leave the parking lot. If they do not leave the parking lot, we will call the police, point out who it was that's not leaving, and at that point we will press charges. And we have the safety pendants, so if any managers are walking around outside late at night, they have that. They can push the button and our security operations team immediately starts watching them out in the parking lot. I have an older gentleman who is an assistant manager who works 5 out of the 7 nights a week. He has no issues going outside and asking patrons to leave if they've been there too long. He's done it many times. I've also given my personal phone number to a couple residents that I talk to that they can call me any time of day if there's a complaint. I can either drive down to the store or call the store and tell them to please go see what's going on and do what's appropriate. Any community members that want to call me at the store, I'm there Monday through Friday, 5 to 3. I can answer any questions or concerns they might have. All of our employees will go through ramp training, 18 and older to sell beer. Myself, I've been restaurant manager for 15 plus years. I've been Serve Safe Alcohol certified, ramp certified, tip certified. So I've been through the whole gambit of training and know what a visibly intoxicated person looks like. In addition to that, Sheets also gives us in-store training on our computers, in addition to the ramp training, which is not required. So there is a lot in place for us to be responsible. Thank you.
Excuse me, can I ask a question? Would you be willing to post the number and procedure that you've just identified so that the residents can contact somebody when they have concerns? I mean, put it on a sign that they can access when they're down there maybe getting gas.
We can certainly look into that, I'm sure, yeah. And also I forgot to mention too, we talked to Officer Beeler about putting more lighting in the parking lot to kind of deter that kind of behavior, and I've asked all of our employees to start parking over on the MacArthur Road side, which is closest to the residents, so that if it is a Friday or Saturday night and kids start to congregate, they don't really have that option to park closer to the community. They're parking farther away. But it is our policy that we're going to be asking them to, at 10 o'clock at night, there will not be allowed any loitering in the parking lot. If they make a purchase, they have a reasonable amount of time to either consume that in the parking lot and go home or whatever that may be. But I believe the noise ordinance was passed for 11 o'clock, so we're looking to do that even an hour earlier. Not sure if that was right, but
It's 10 p.m.
it is 10, okay.
Oh, you have to come back up again and address the, that's all right, don't be sorry. Yes.
Barbara Kremp, 5527 Bayberry Lane. I'm trying to understand what the Sheets manager is saying. So if he's saying there's a lot of noise there after 10 o'clock, then we can call him. And he's going to post his phone number so we can call him. Because he said he's there from 5 to 3. It's not happening from 5 to 3. It's happening from 9 till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he said he doesn't mind giving his cell phone number out to the residents.
Okay,
Okay?
I will use it. Thank you.
Yes, please.
My name is Ginger Bachman, 5513 Bayberry. In the 4 years I've lived there, I went down twice to Sheets's on my own. I will never go there after dark. On my own, and went inside to an employee and said, "This is crazy. I mean, my TV is on and I can't hear my TV sometimes because of the vehicles." And I went twice down there, and my answers were given to me was, "Oh, we're in here. There's a lot of noise." And there was, with the coffee machines and things. We don't hear those things. Done.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the floor? Yes, sir.
Michael Krimp, 5527 Bayberry Lane, Whitehall, PA. It's not so much the noise, it's like from 9 o'clock at night to maybe 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. There's vehicles, in the parking lot, just sitting there, revving their engines all night long. And then they get to the point where they start backfiring, and it sounds like gunshots. I mean, if you bring alcohol into that mix with them drag racing up and down MacArthur, you can hear them wheel out. And I can't understand why they don't hear that inside the sheets when we can hear it up in Briarwood. I mean, it's going to be bad. If they bring alcohol and you got the drag racers, you're looking for big accidents. And I would call the police many a times, but I didn't want to call 911. I don't know any other number to call.
Well, like I said, sir, we can fall back to that non-emergency number now. If you look at the township website. Or the
I know it
newsletter.
now since that was brung up, but a lot of times I was going to call, but I said, is it worth it to call 911? And if they can't go on the property, I mean, it's,
Well, they
the
can now.
police hands are tied, our hands are tied, and I'm telling you, it's an awful situation.
They can now, sir. If you make that call, a police officer is going to respond to Sheets and investigate.
Okay.
So if there is a noise ordinance violation taking place and he witnesses it, they'll be charged.
But the thing is, they're there, and I don't understand why nobody in the sheets ever, if they have all these cameras and they could tune in from Altoona, why don't they hear it and say, hey, could you do this? Because I don't want to get involved in this, you know. I just don't understand. That's all I got to say. And I would hope the court says no to the liquor. There's plenty of places by the sheets where you could go and get alcohol. You could go right down to the Weiss's and buy your beer. There's plenty of places to go. Why does the sheets have to have it? I don't understand their point. Thank you very much.
Any other comments? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
I abstained for it. I wasn't here last month.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniger? Aye. Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
And President Howard.
Yes.
We have 6 ayes, 1 abstention. For resolution, yes.
Okay, moving on. Sorry, if anybody wants to leave, you can leave now. I'll give you the, you're welcome.
He asked me if that would get rid of it. I think he's confirming that it didn't pass. I said it's not an issue.
Okay, public hearing and voting on ordinances. Bill number 20-2019, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 2365, codified at Chapter 15, Article 4, Section 15-38, which established a Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. no parking restriction along the south side of Quarry Street at the southeast corner of Mulberry Alley in the Fullerton area of the township. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Questions from the board? Questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman,
Yes.
Commissioner Swaniker, aye, and President Howard.
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 21-2019, an ordinance repealing ordinance number 2366, codified at Chapter 15, Article 4, Section 15-41, which established a special purpose parking zone for loading and unloading on Mondays through Fridays from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. along the north side of Quarry Street for a 97-foot length opposite Mulberry Alley in the Fullerton area of the township. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Was it Ty who did
Phil?
next?
Yeah. Any comments from the board? Comments from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman,
Yes.
Commissioner Swaniker, aye, Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
President Howard.
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 22-2019, an ordinance amending Chapter 5 Code Enforcement, Article 6 International Fire Code, Sections 5-20 additions, amendments, and deletions to restrict open flame cooking devices from storage on combustible balconies. Any question, oh, I'm sorry, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any comments or questions from the board?
Just the combustible balconies, like, can we clarify what that is?
Things that can burn.
Combustible balcony is anything that can catch on fire pretty much, as long as it's not masonry or anything like that, so wood products or anything that's gonna catch fire and burn. So that's the problem with it. It's a safety issue, and that's why we're looking for that.
So, like, how do you distinguish a balcony from a deck? Like, I guess is my question.
Doesn't matter.
It
Deck,
doesn't matter.
balcony,
So-
same thing. It's combustible material is what we're looking for. And currently, the way the code says it can be stored on there, there's no way for me to not know that they're not cooking on that without that. It's got a gas flammable unit on there. We've had structure fires in apartment complexes currently already from that. And we're just trying, Helfrich Springs, as a matter of fact, was one of them, and we're just trying to eliminate that problem.
Suppose you have a partial wooden thing with a slab that's concrete. What do you do there?
If it's any combustible material, then they're not allowed to have it, period.
This is bigger than what the unit that's making the fire.
And it has to be 10 feet away from the building as well.
So if they built something and it was on a concrete slab 10 feet away,
Then
because
they're
there
good to
are
go.
decks out there much
Which
bigger
actually,
than
we've
that.
talked to several apartment complexes, and they're looking into putting in a common area where they can have a grill outside for the residents to use, but they cannot be on the deck, and they cannot be 10 feet into the building. They have to be 10 feet
And
away.
I'm not thinking of the apartments, which would be kind of goofy. I'm thinking about, guy down the street from me has a
Doesn't matter to residential
300
homes, it doesn't
square
apply
foot
to it.
deck. And he has a 10-foot concrete thing there, and it's way more than 10 feet away from the house. You're saying that's not good.
I would recommend that you don't do that, but the
I
code does not say anything for residential homes. It's only for apartment complexes and stuff like that. So,
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments or questions from the board? Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
New Commissioner Fryman,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Swaniker, aye. Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
and President Howard.
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 23-2019, an ordinance amending Chapter A29 Fees, Sections M7 International Code, M10 Fire or Emergency Alarms, M17 Police, M18 Recreation, and Chapter 15 Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Article 4 General Parking Regulations, Section 15-46 Illegal Parking Penalties, to remove obsolete fees and to provide for new and/or increased fees and/or penalties. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Don't make me read it again. Comments or questions from the board? So you want to say something? No, you good? All right. Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes? No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's me.
Hold on. Should be.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong guy. Okay, Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
All right. Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
President Howard?
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays. No, what happened?
Bill number 24-2019, an ordinance amending Chapter 15 Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Article 6 Snow and Ice Emergencies, Sections 15-61 Snow Emergency Routes Designated, and Sections 15-63 Violations and Penalties, to remove obsolete snow emergency routes, provide for a modified list of snow emergency routes, and fees for violations related thereto. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Questions from the board?
Yeah, I just want to verify that the fire chief and his officers reviewed this plan, and that the plan is designed so that if there's ever an emergency during the height of a blizzard, the snow emergency route plan allows you to get where you need to go.
Comments or questions from the board? Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
President Howard?
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 25-2019, an ordinance amending Chapter 6, Article 1 Fireworks, Section 6-3 Use and Sale of Fireworks Limitations, to impose modified time restrictions on the discharge of fireworks. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Questions or comments from the board? I have a comment. Who shoots off fireworks at 11 p.m. in the pouring rain?
Whitehall Township.
It's crazy. Sorry, that's my only comment. Any comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none. Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
And President Howard.
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 26-2019, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for the purchase of two 2020 Ford Explorer 4x4 Interceptors for the Police Patrol Division in accordance with Section 3.20 in the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments or questions from the board? Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
President Howard.
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 27-2019, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for purchase of two 2019 Dodge Charger vehicles for the Police Patrol Division in accordance with Section 3.20 in the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments or questions from the board? Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please poll the board.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Swanager? Aye. President Hauer?
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 28-2019, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for performance of reconstruction of specified sections of Copley Road for the Public Works Bureau of the Township of Whitehall, bid number 2019-4. In accordance with Section 3.20 of the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Questions from the board?
I have a question. I don't know who to ask. Maybe Mrs. Rakis? Maybe not. Maybe the mayor. The people up in Fox Hollow had told me some of the reservations about a possible detour. Do we have any idea on where the detour is going to go through when this construction takes place? Because they're very concerned.
Not through their neighborhood,
Not through their neighborhood?
no.
How are you going to detour them?
I believe it's gonna be West Copley Road out to MacArthur and then up that way.
Okay, what if, is it gonna be blocked off coming up the hill out of Cementon then?
It'll have to be blocked up before you get, at the bottom of the hill.
Okay, so there's gonna be a dead end basically, and,
Yeah, we have to have the whole road shut down for that project.
so there won't be anything going through their development, it won't
It's a
be.
one-way street part of it, and you can't, the turns getting through that zigzag in North Copley, it's impossible to get through.
Right,
there.
they were just very concerned that,
Yeah,
triaxles
they'll
would
be,
be
they'll be
coming through
local,
their
they'll
neighborhood.
probably have to come in from the bottom. They might be able to get in from the top, but again, we don't wanna encourage all that, we'd rather keep that closed off at the bottom.
How are we gonna deal with the Hobel Quarry and the UGI trucks?
I'll have to talk with John, cause he arranged for the detour routes, so that is being professionally signed and detoured, but I'll check and see how they're gonna plan to.
I mean,
get them
cause
in.
one of their major concerns is the triaxles coming into their neighborhood because,
They'd have to come up from the bottom, or from the north, they'd have to come in that way, I mean, I can't.
They use North Copley Road right now to get in and out, so they don't come down Copley. They'll come West Copley, up Copley Road, but typically they come around Lafarge.
Well, yeah, the north end of North Copley
Yeah.
Road, that's all, yeah, they can't go,
They
they're
go
not gonna
right
be able to
right
go down
down.
past that.
Okay.
Even, I think even in the conditional approval, when they were able to get that, I think that's all, the only part of North Copley Road. they
right, but
could
I
use.
continuously get videos from people because they're coming in the back way anyway.
They are?
Well, Mr. Roth provided me with a couple videos where they come in from the south instead of going up through the north.
Please let me know when that happens,
Yeah.
because I can
Yeah.
get that squared away.
All right.
Because there's only, there's a list of authorized trucking firms that are allowed to use that
Right.
quarry. And if there's an issue with the routing, let me know. We can forward that on.
It's I assume it's not routine, but I assume
You
that
might
it's
get
a
a couple
driver
of
that
road
gets
guys
lost
like,
or
hey,
his-
I'll take a shortcut, it's like.
or his GPS may take him that route,
Ugh,
you know,
gosh, I-
whatever, so.
All right, let me know. I can
All
find
right.
out.
Any other comments or questions? Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Swanager? Aye. Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
President Hauer?
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 29-2019, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for performance of microsurfing Type A single application for the Public Works Bureau of the Township of Whitehall, bid number 2019-15, in accordance with Section 3.20 in the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Questions from the board? Questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Fryman,
Yes.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
President Howard.
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Bill number 30-2019, an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a proposal for a purchase of radio equipment for the fire department in accordance with section 3.20 in the Home Rule Charter, which requires authorization of acquisitions in excess of $25,000 by ordinance. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Questions from the board? Questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Sloniker, aye. Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
President Howard.
Yes.
Bill passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
An ordinance deferring the required installation of sidewalks along the Garfield Street frontage of 5169 Garfield Avenue for a distance of approximately 80 feet as required in Chapter 21, Section 21-16 of the Codified Ordinances of Whitehall Township. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments or questions from the board? Comments or questions from the floor? Yes, sir.
Joshua Thatcher, 1213 28th Street, Allentown, PA. I'm the owner of that piece of property. I'm proposing a single-family dwelling, about 1,600 square feet. Garfield Street is not a very busy street. It's about maybe 1,000 linear feet. There are 12 homes on both sides of that street combined, and that's why I'm deferring for a sidewalk. I have a diagram, if I can approach the bench.
Nobody's gonna think that there's a secure area. Oh, it's fun. Thank you. This is nice paper.
So I apologize for my primitive drawing, but you can notice where 5169 Garfield Avenue is located, and there are not many sidewalks already within this area. And the closest would be perpendicular to where Garfield is. So I'm not a person who studies walking patterns, but if I were to walk the street and perhaps on the corner, cut the corner and come around, there are no really sidewalks there to continue that pathway.
So I'm just looking at Garfield Avenue.
There is currently curbing already within that entire area.
Any other comments or questions?
That's it.
Any other comments from the board? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Ginder,
No.
Commissioner Clary,
Nay.
Commissioner Warren,
No.
Commissioner Sloniker, nay. Commissioner Fryman,
No.
Commissioner Marks,
No.
and President Howard.
No.
Motion, the bill. Bill is not passed, 7 nays, 0 ayes.
Public hearing and voting on resolutions. Resolution number 3062, a resolution for sewage facilities plan revision for a new land development of Whitehall multi-tenant building located at 2630 MacArthur Road, Whitehall, PA, index number 1935-19. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Swaniker, aye. Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
And President Howard.
Yes.
Resolution passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution appointing Robin Rummel to serve on the Whitehall Township Building Code Board of Appeals. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Questions or comments from the board?
Just one, now she was on another one before, did she resign last month? What was the,
No, she was put on there.
put on this one?
No, she was
The
put
Tax
on
Appeals
the other.
Board, have we received her resignment? No. No, she's not yet resigned, but we're expecting it.
Okay.
I think there was a misunderstanding
Yes.
of what board she wanted.
Yeah.
She really didn't want this back, she wanted the
Okay. I just feel like we've talked about her like 3 different.
I mean, pretty soon she'll be running the township.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Pointed to everything.
Any other comments from the board? Comments or questions from the floor?
Yeah.
Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Swaniker, aye. Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Marks? President Howard?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Yeah.
In the planning.
Resolution number 3064, a resolution authorizing the disposal of specific township records in accordance with the township's record retention and disposal schedule. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments or questions from the floor? Comments or questions from the board? I'm sorry, from the board, then from the floor. It's a long night. You know, I'll be honest with you, I looked over at Mr. Clary. Your beard's coming in pretty nice there, brother.
Yeah, listen,
It shook
you
me.
inspire me.
It shook me.
Would this help with the basement, with the EOC down there, with the records being down there now, or is this, that's not going?
Pretty much just gives us another year to put downstairs, we take
Just a
another year
rotation,
out.
that's all it
It's
is.
rotational, yeah.
Just to get the EOC back?
That's gonna come later,
That's
at
wishful.
least our proposals for cleaning out that room.
But hopefully the new building will alleviate some of those problems.
More spaces for John.
Any other comments from the
Your
board?
stuff, George Carlin.
Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Swaniker, aye. Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
President Howard?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3065, a resolution authorizing the disposal of specific township records in accordance with the township's record retention and disposal schedule.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments or questions from the board? Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Swaniker, aye. Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
President Howard?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Resolution number 3066, a resolution authorizing and appointing voting delegates to the Lehigh Tax Collection Committee. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments or questions from the floor? Sorry, from the board. It's been a long night. Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Swaniker, aye. Commissioner Ginder?
Yes.
Commissioner Clary?
Aye.
Commissioner Fryman?
Yes.
Commissioner Warren?
Aye.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
President Howard?
Yes.
Resolution passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Go to motions. Motion to approve the release of escrow for completed and withdrawn projects per Deputy Mayor Meyer's memo dated May 7th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Comments from the board? Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes?
Commissioner Marks.
Yes.
Commissioner Swaniker, aye. Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Fryman,
Yes.
and Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
and President Howard.
Yes.
Motion passes 7 ayes.
Motion to approve the real estate tax assessment appeal of Walmart. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Questions or comments from the floor? Sorry, I keep saying that backwards now.
It's okay.
It's like I'm having a stroke. Comments from the board? Any problems? I got a problem with it.
No,
Nothing-
everybody has a problem with those, but unfortunately, until the state law doesn't
know.
allow for these commercial tax appeals, the best we can do is fight with counter appraisals and, try and negotiate a fair and equitable settlement for both parties.
I got you. Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes?
Commissioner Swaniker, aye. Commissioner Fryman,
Yes.
Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
and President Howard.
Yes.
Motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
We have a discussion item, the residuary trust of Andrew Yastashuk.
We have another item.
What's that?
There was a revised agenda,
Oh,
so
nobody gave me the revised agenda.
we'll make something up.
There's a good legal advice.
What?
A couple meetings ago, this board approved a tax assessment appeal settlement for Lowe's. And since then, we found out that the school district attorney made a little mistake. It's good news. The actual assessment is that the fair market value is $200,000 higher than we approved previously. So we need this board to approve the revised assessment, which is a fair market value of $8.5 million.
8.7.
Oh, sorry, yep, see, I messed up too. 8.5 was the incorrect one. 8.7 is the correct number.
You making that motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Comments or questions from the board? Comments or questions from the floor? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, please pull the board.
Commissioner Ginder,
Yes?
Commissioner Swaniker, aye. Commissioner Fryman,
Yes.
Commissioner Clary,
Aye.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Warren,
Aye.
and President Howard.
Yes.
Is that a motion or a resolution? What was that?
Motion, just like the Walmart one.
Motion passes 7 ayes, 0 nays.
Now we'll move to our discussion item.
Just here.
Come on up.
This is on the. Oh, that's, okay. It's a good thing it's rain. We need rain.
There's a man that's adaptable.
Fantastic.
Look at that.
Well-
Oops.
Okay.
She's up in Egypt.
Instruction.
Look at that. We got card.
For instance, right around here's red. And here's Xanabeth.
that good or bad?
That's good.
Okay, I'll hold it up. My name is Joe Udicello. I work at 6500 Chapman's Road, Allentown, in Upper Macungie Township. I represent the residuary trust of Andrew Yastashuk. As in our statement, the trust is the owner of 155 acres up in the northern tier of Whitehall, basically represented by, if you can catch everything within the orange line, would all be the property that we're referring to, owned by the trust. Presently, the entire tract is zoned R1. This sandy colored tract in here is a very nice gentle slope, open grassy area useful for almost anything, recreation, building, whatever. This area over in here is a steep slope wooded area that really not a whole lot can be done with it. What we would like to say is, well, what we would propose, we're asking for this area up here to be rezoned from R1 1-acre lots to R3. And the reason for that is because this area up in here has an elevation that would accommodate public water and sewer. And it's like, well, if there's public water and sewer, typically that area is not zoned R1. R1 is for 1-acre well and septic. And we believe the way that came about is when the zoning line was drawn, the 537 line, or where the gravity sewer line is, would come down this way, and the actual sewer line, that public sewer, the line would go right through our property here and then on out, and this section up in here would have gravity sewer. But because the rest of the tract down in this area did not have it, when they did the zoning, they came down this way, scooted over here, went down, and came back, and then went right on around. And the part here remained zone R1 because typically one tract doesn't have two types of zoning on it. So our request for this evening, we would like to be able to build homes up in this particular section here. And if I can squeeze this out of here. That section up there could accommodate some single-family building lots. And the rest of this would not. So we would ask that the board would consider our rezoning proposal and pass us on to the next step in evaluating the whole process, if that's the Legal and Legislative Committee or whatever the next group would be. We're not asking for a decision on anything other than can we go to the next step and be evaluated based on the merit of the proposal. In exchange, as a condition for approving this area for some single-family building lots with gravity sewer, the balance of the property, approximately 110, maybe 115 acres, the trust would donate to the township. Okay, so they would basically give this area and all of the area down here, about 110 acres, free, not a problem. And this area may seem a little bit unusual, but it's very large and very useful. This little neck right here is big enough to accommodate 2 soccer fields plus parking. So that'll give you an idea as to how big the rest of this is. We feel this proposal has merit. We think it's a win-win. We could build some nice single-family homes for the residents up here. We could make a living building homes, which is what we do. I don't know if there's a lot of subdivisions going on in the township right now, but we would propose to go ahead and build one right there. This area could be, like I said, used for recreation, could be leased out to a farmer to generate some income, could do almost anything the township wanted. This could be zoned OS1. I understand that the township was looking for open space up in the northern tier. That would guarantee 110 acres of open space under your control. That would, I believe, fall in line with what everybody was looking for up there. We believe that proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan that outside group did a number of years ago with recommendations for the township as far as building on smaller properties and having more open space. I believe the wooded area will be a nice cleansing area to keep the water going into the creek. I can't remember, there's a creek on the other side of Spring Street down there. Would act as a watershed to clean that. Let's see what else. Smaller lots in the future, if the township would accept dedication of the roads, they'd be smaller lots for maintenance, for plowing, for street repair, for all of that kind of stuff. So we kind of feel it works good for both ways. It works good for the people of Whitehall Township because they'd have a nice new development with new single-family homes to live in. I don't know that there's any drawback there, but it would be open space for the township, houses for the people, and we could continue to build a property. We've had it for a long time. Any questions?
Yeah, we'll move it on to the L&L committee.
I'm sorry?
We'll move it on to the L&L committee, and so I don't think we can get it on the agenda for this Wednesday, but it'll be next month's agenda. Okay?
So we're okay to go on?
What's that? Yes.
We're okay to move on?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just ask a few questions
Sure.
while we're here. We met with Mr. Udicello a month or two ago and talked about this. Just want to make sure that what we're looking at here can all be served with gravity flow into the existing sanitary system. Of course, you'd have to extend it, but that'll all get gravity flow. And I just want to have our attorney look at some of the language that you're proposing in there. And we'll try to have some things together for you with the next L&L meeting.
Yeah, and this land, I mean, this may not be exact, the exact line will be determined by where the gravity flow would be.
Right.
We've spoken to Dave Harleman and all of that, so.
Yeah, I also spoke to Dave, and, with any concerns he may have, and he thinks this is doable, and he didn't see any problems with, they're gonna have to do main extensions, of course, but other than that, he didn't anticipate any flow problems or gravity problems.
I'll tell you that I was happy when he walked in talking about this.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to reports from the Board of Commissioners. We'll start with Commissioner Warren.
Some of you weren't here last week, but we had a brand-new payloader sitting out front. I don't know if you saw that. But back in 1989, Executive Harrickle here instituted the first recycling program. It was one of the first in the state, maybe the
My
first.
understanding is it was the first.
The first organized municipal recycling program. It did receive the Governor Award back then. And in 2010, this board saw the light where most municipalities are going to the toter system. And we went from 3 crates of recyclables to a 76-gallon toter of single stream where all your recyclables go into one. And as a result of that program, the Whitehall Township applied for and did receive a grant in the amount of $299,827. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jack, but that money went towards the purchase of that payloader.
It's 50% of the
50.
purchase price of
Yes.
that.
So-
In addition, the cart system that you referenced, we not only got $250,000 a year ago, but this is also gonna add another $150,000 for the remainder of the purchase of the carts.
And as a result of that recycling effort, we decreased the waste tonnage,
Yep.
which lowered our costs, which allowed us to reduce the garbage fee per resident household by $30, and we've remained there since the contract. So it just goes to show you that recycling does pay, and great work. That's all I have.
Just to reiterate about the recycling event on Saturday, it's a really great day. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it this year. I'll be at a basketball tournament. But I actually have a lot of fun doing it, so hopefully get good volunteers this year. as we've had in the past few years. But it's a great day, so please come out and check it out.
Nothing? Commissioner Ginder?
Mayor Mike, are you going to read this letter about Dennis?
Oh,
And the William Wickheiser?
You've known him longer than I think you deserve that honor.
But you're the mayor, there's more honor when the mayor reads it. I would love to read it, I've known Dennis for years, and all of this fits Dennis perfectly. But I believe the mayor reading it has more punch.
Okay, then we'll put
Wait
this
for
off until
You really don't
my
need to.
opportunity.
It's-
You want me to do it now?
No.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's all I have, thank you.
Nothing? Commissioner Marks?
All I have is Memorial Day is coming upon us at 11 a.m. on Monday, May 27th. We're going to have a ceremony out here at the Whitehall Township Veterans Memorial. And please go out and participate at our other memorials in the township. Laurel, the Doughboy in Egypt, Egypt Park, and Egypt VFW. Please engage. You know, it's nice to have the public come out and honor our veterans. It's an important cause. And, you know, it's a somber day, but yet it's a happy day. So please get out. And please get out and vote. Next Tuesday.
What time is that here?
11 a.m. Yes. That's all I have.
Chief Marks, we spoke about this in the past about our Memorial Day celebrations and having some police stop the traffic at some of our events, most notably the one in Cementon and the one in Fullerton, because the traffic there just kind of, you don't even hear the names being read, and it's kind of, you know, at least in my opinion, it's Memorial Day, you can stop for 5 minutes and pay some respects to our departed veterans, and if we can do something about having some presence there to stop the traffic. I know 329 is 329, but what do you say? Ask forgiveness, don't ask permission, right? I live by that motto, and you know, if we could stop some traffic there just for a few minutes, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you. And I was a little remiss when we first started the meeting. For any of you who went to Whitehall High School, if you don't already know, a teacher, or at least one of my teachers, Jocelyn Kaligas, passed away this week. I'd like for you to keep all his family in your thoughts and prayers. I said anybody that went to Whitehall knows Mr. Kaligas and what a great teacher he was and a great mentor to me, and I'm sure thousands and thousands of students at Whitehall. It's very sad, and just wanted to put that on. That's all I got.
You couldn't have said it better. He was a great guy. I was there the first year he started teaching, taught me German for 2 years, and there couldn't have been a better mentor, a better man, a better teacher than he was. He's a great guy, and he'll be missed. And if you didn't know it, an international quality field hockey player who played in the Pan Am Games, but he also was selected for the Olympic team.
Danger Man.
Pardon?
Danger Man.
Yeah.
Dan Gurman.
Well, let's talk about Dennis Hauer.
You don't need to do that.
No, we do.
Yeah, we do.
We do. Because I'm starting to feel the poignance of you not being here. We got to say nice things about you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. When I leave, you can say all the bad things.
I say them now.
Okay, that's true.
Dennis Hauer, International Brotherhood of Teamsters Local 773. Dennis Hauer has been a member of the Teamsters Local 773 since 1990. He has worked for UPS as a package car driver for over 10 years and served as assistant steward at the Allentown Center. Dennis was named a trustee for Local 773 from 2005 through 2007 and elected vice president from 2007 to 2012. In 2013, Dennis was elected president and has been elected 3 times without opposition. For the past 5 years, Dennis has been a consultant to the International Brotherhood of Teamsters Training and Development Department and has been recently named director of the Training and Development Department. In 2011, Dennis was elected to the Board of Commissioners for Whitehall Township and currently serves as president of the board. Dennis also serves as a vice president of the Lehigh Valley Labor Council, AFL-CIO. Under Dennis's leadership, Local 773 has nearly doubled its size and also built a state-of-the-art union hall, which serves the membership as well as many other locals and unions in the Lehigh Valley. Dennis has served on the boards of the United Way of the Greater Lehigh Valley, Big Brothers, Big Sisters of the Lehigh Valley, and has been very active with Teen Works. When CWA members were on strike with Verizon, Dennis helped to organize an event that helped feed over 400 members and their families. When government workers were not being paid, Dennis spearheaded the effort to get food and resources to over 200 federal workers employed in the Lehigh Valley. This past fall, Dennis joined the Real Men Wear Pink initiative to raise money for breast cancer. Dennis finished number 6 in the entire country, raising in excess of $51,000, with the majority coming from unions and union members. Dennis leads by example and believes in the value that unions bring to the table. These are just some of the reasons why Dennis is receiving the William Werkheiser Community Services Award for 2019. The William Werkheiser Award. The William Werkheiser Award is presented every year to a person, persons, or agency demonstrating strong community service leadership. The award is named after its first recipient, William Bill Werkheiser. Throughout his years of service in the labor movement, Bill never tired and always had time to serve on various boards of local nonprofits. Bill's dedication to community service and to helping his brothers and sisters both in the labor movement and in his community are why this award is named after him, a testament to live on through time, caring and serving the union way. Bill was a member of the United Steelworkers of America, Local 2600, one of the Bethlehem Steel Tri-Locals. Over his career in the union that began in 1942, Bill served as service committee. Throughout his lifetime, Bill served in many community service committees and projects. Highlights of his community service are membership on the Hospital Central Services Committee, Bethlehem Committee on Alcoholism, Bethlehem Chapter of the American Red Cross, and the Forks of the Delaware United Fund, now the United Way. United Way created a William Werkheiser Memorial Fund to be used to encourage union membership in community services. And this year's winner, as I noted earlier, is our beloved Dennis Hauer. And I think we owe him a standing ovation for what he's done here.
Speech. Well, the funny thing about that award is the recipient never knows until they start talking about you at the awards dinner. And when they mentioned he worked at UPS, I was looking around to see who else worked at UPS, and then as I got into it, I was shocked. But I'm very honored to accept that award. If you were at the dinner, I do these things because it was the way I was raised, and I do them because that's the way my father raised me. And it's all about community service for him and for me, and I do those things in his honor. The world would be a better place if we just helped out our fellow men and women, and that's just the way I feel, and I appreciate that. And I don't do any of this stuff for an award. I do it because it's the right thing to do. So thank you.
Well, congratulations, and it's well deserved.
Job well done.
Thanks, man.
Couple of things. Maybe most importantly, I hope that Whitehall at this point still has an undefeated boys volleyball team. They were 16-0 throughout the year, and they're playing Emmaus tonight. They are the #1 seed, and they're still ranked in the top 10 in the state. And I was privileged to be the first coach there, but George is doing a much better job than I ever did. So, a couple things. We've been meeting with LVHN and UGI, trying to find a way to get the natural gas line extended so that we can tie this into the new building. I don't know that we're going to get it here in time. The backup is to use propane until this thing will be extended. And the numbers are pretty significant in terms of what the costs are going to be. But we're going to continue to work together. The money's coming out of the public's pocket. It's a matter of splitting up what's a fair way to determine who pays for what, when, and why, and how. We're now working on another build grant. As a member of the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission, I was given the opportunity to go to DC and do a little work on getting money. We're looking at $19 million to support a project that would bring our trail all the way up to Race Street. For those of you who aren't aware of it, the extension of a road, one lane in each direction, that would be affiliated with that project, would come into Whitehall, go under 22, and the original plan was to close off Wood Street. It was creating a problem. We took a look at another way. It's going to be closed anyway because of the ramp coming off of 22 when that's completed. But I've been working with the Fullerton Legion, trying to find an opportunity to support the project in a way that they can live with, and we're working on that. The recycling we talked about, and I just wanted to offer those few words and say once again that we ought to find a way to keep this guy if we can.
Treasurer's report?
One other thing, one other thing. We're still working with the purchaser of the dairy